Once upon a time, in a small coastal town where the sea whispered louder than people did, there lived a girl named Elara Quinn. She was quiet, not because she had nothing to say, but because her words always seemed to get lost between her mind and her lips. In school, her voice barely rose above a whisper. When teachers called on her, her heart pounded so hard she could hear it more than her own words. At home, her father told stories like thunder, bold, booming, alive, and she would listen from the hallway, wondering how it felt to speak without shaking. She loved to write, though. Every night she filled notebooks with words she wished she could say out loud. Stories of heroes who spoke fire, dreamers who shouted into storms, warriors who used their voices to move mountains. But when she imagined herself in their place, she could only see silence. She wasn't afraid of people. She was afraid of being heard wrong. One day during class, the teacher announced a regional speech competition. The room buzzed with excitement, except at Elara's desk, where her stomach turned to ice. But that night, as she sat in bed, something stirred. She read through one of her journals and found a line she'd written months ago. A voice only finds its power when it's used for something bigger than fear. She didn't remember writing it, but it hit her like lightning. The next morning, she signed up. Her classmates laughed. "You? Speak. You barely talk in class." Even her best friend asked gently, "Are you sure?" But she was, not because she believed she could win, but because she was tired of watching her voice rot in her throat. She chose a speech title that made everyone laugh, The Voice of Confidence. Irony, maybe, but she didn't care. She was done waiting for permission to be loud. At first, practice was brutal. When she stood in front of the mirror, her voice cracked like glass. Every line sounded small, uncertain. Her palms sweated, her knees shook. But Elara treated each failure like a brick, building something stronger from it. She practiced in the woods near her home, where no one could hear her but the trees. Her voice startled the birds at first, but day after day it grew steadier. She practiced until the trees became her audience, the waves her applause. Her father noticed one evening when he found her rehearsing by the cliffs, her voice carried by the wind. He didn't interrupt, just stood behind her, smiling softly. "You sound like your mother," he said quietly, and she realized he wasn't comparing, he was remembering. Her mother had been a singer before she passed away when Elara was 5. That night, her father helped her project, teaching her how to breathe from the diaphragm, how to turn fear into fuel. For the first time, Elara didn't just speak. She sounded like she believed herself. The day of the competition came like a storm. The auditorium was packed, lights harsh, air heavy. Backstage, Elara felt like she might dissolve into her nerves. Every voice around her sounded confident, practiced, perfect. Hers still trembled. She thought of running, of leaving quietly before anyone noticed. But then she saw a little girl in the front row, holding a notepad, biting her lip. The same way Elara used to sit, too afraid to speak. That's when she understood. This wasn't about her voice anymore. It was about giving that girl permission to find hers. She stepped onto the stage. The microphone loomed like a mountain. She took one breath, deep, full, alive, and began. At first, her voice wavered. Then it steadied. Then it soared. She spoke about fear, about how confidence isn't the absence of it, but the decision to speak anyway. Every word came from her chest, raw and real. When she finished, there was silence, then thunderous applause. But more than the sound, it was the look on that little girl's face that broke her open. Awe, hope, belief. That day, Elara didn't just win the speech contest. She won herself. The quiet girl who once hid from attention had become the kind of person who used her voice to lift others. Years later, she became a motivational speaker, not the loud kind, but the kind who made people feel seen. She taught that confidence isn't about shouting louder, It's about believing your whisper matters. Her first published book was titled Speak Anyway. When reporters asked her what changed her life, she said, "The moment I realized my fear was only proof that my voice mattered." In every speech, she ended with the same words she once wrote to herself in that old notebook. A voice only finds its power when it's used for something bigger than fear. The voice of confidence reminds us that strength isn't born from perfection, but from courage. True confidence is not being fearless. It's speaking through the fear until your voice stops trembling and starts echoing.